Alrighty. Hello, everybody. Thank you for attending the webinar. Today, this is what we call the Head Start webinar. We're going to focus on stage 3 of the 8 stages of successful retained search, which is setting client expectations with a search strategy. All right, so what is the Head Start? This is a webinar series we created to help you see what successful search execution looks like and how to do it what we think is the right way. It is based upon the 8 stages of successful retained executive search, which you can see here. And we have an entire ebook on these stages, which can be downloaded for free at the link provided. So each webinar we host, we're going to focus on just one of these stages. Today is, again, stage 3. And we're going to talk about the why behind it and show you how Clockwork can also help reinforce each stage. So a couple of statistics that we have found through analyzing thousands of projects in various reports. The first one, according to Clockwork's market research report, only 6 in 10 firms collaborate closely with a client when setting their search strategy. We've also uncovered in a similar report that the placement rate is up to 21% higher when clients collaborate with tools like Clockwork starting early on in the search process. So why do you need a good search strategy? First of all, you're building on your client's trust and buy-in. You actually started gaining this in stage 2. Our last webinar, we talked about winning work, and you're really capitalizing on it even further in this stage. You're also setting expectations up front with your client, which is really imperative to align on goals early on in the relationship. Next, accountability as well. The search strategy holds everyone accountable to their own responsibilities and expectations. This is true for both you and your team as well as the client. The strategy provides further structure for all future stages in the search process as well. And finally, projects that have a deeper collaboration end up closing faster and also result in higher client satisfaction. So what are a couple examples of a poor search strategy? First of all, trying to use the same strategy for all searches, right? The strategy is not one size fits all. It should and will be tailored for each search project a little bit differently. Another is developing the search strategy without any client input, right? This is a one-sided approach. It doesn't position you as a trusted advisor or consultant, which is the goal, but rather more of a transactional vendor. And third, not consulting with the client. This is a kind of obvious one, but if you're collecting client requirements on the kickoff call, for instance, and developing your strategy solely based on those requirements, there's no room for consultation, collaboration, or feedback from the client. These client needs and wants should really be addressed a lot earlier on in the process. All right, so again, the strategy really does set the tone for the entire search. It's going to be your skeletal structure for every subsequent stage in your search process. Beginning with setting expectations, your strategy reinforces those client expectations and requirements to align with the client really early on in the search. In the research stage, your strategy will drive and inform your research and end up saving you a lot of time researching and finding the right candidates. In outreach, your strategy dictates key positioning for the role. In assessment, your strategy defines core competencies that the client has already signed off on. And finally, in the decision stage, your strategy ultimately helps your client make the best decision. So how do you set a solid search strategy? This is what we're going to be covering today. We're going to touch on some of the key parts of setting a solid search strategy, starting with documenting job description and requirements, building research criteria that will serve as your scorecard for each candidate, building target company lists, logistics and expectations, creating and using benchmark profiles, and finally, defining clear next steps from there. So without further ado, I'll pass the reins to our Director of Sales, Jack Shirley. We'll show you how we set a solid search strategy in Clockwork to ensure a successful search project.
Thanks, Dane. Hi, everybody. I'm Jack Shirley, Director of Sales at Clockwork. Today, we're going to continue our journey as an executive search professional through the 8 stages of search. In our previous 2 webinars, we covered how to find and win work using your executive search platform. And at this point in the journey, we have now won that work, and our firm has been retained to execute on a search. And so we're now embarking on this journey here, and we want to cement the working relationship with our client and demonstrate that our project team is aligned on a sound search strategy. And we will start by leveraging Clockwork search strategy tools in the platform to set up our project for success. And we'll finish with some role playing to demonstrate how this can prompt a fruitful conversation with our client. So let's kick it off. So welcome to Clockwork, everybody. Let's just get you oriented first. What you see here is a Clockwork project. And this tab, or this column here with these tabs, these are all specific to this project. Today, we are going to hone in on these views that are relevant to setting a solid search strategy, specifically the position tab and the strategy tab for this search project. And the setting of your search strategy in Clockwork really starts here in the position tab. This is where your project team will centralize what types of people we're looking for and how we're screening them. So it's job specs, it's the compensation of the role, it's the location of the role, and the research criteria, all in one place as a single source of truth. In our last webinar on how to win work using Clockwork as a pitch tool, we showed how all of this information can be produced with one click using Clockwork's AI functionality based on the company you're doing the search for and the type of role. And that can serve as a good starting point for a sample project or a pitch project. To see that AI functionality in motion, I recommend reaching out to me or Dane to show you a personalized demo of how that can help you, and our emails will be displayed at the end of the webinar. For many of you who may be gathering job specs from your client, you may add an attachment here, or you may paste that text into the text fields. In any case, all of this information is click to edit, so you can add as much text or as much research criteria as you would like to. So this is the playbook for our candidate outreach, right? Detailing who on our project team we should be looking for, as well as what we'll cover in the outreach stage in our later webinar. This could also serve as a reference point to account for the hard questions when selling passive candidates on a role. So once you have explained to your clients that your team is aligned on who to look for and how you are selling candidates on the role, you want to start outlining qualifications and rounding out the client's ideal candidate profile here using the research criteria. And this criteria should really come from an in-depth conversation that you're having with your client on what their idea of a good candidate looks like. Now, since the term good can be extremely subjective, you want them to outline their desired criteria as plainly as possible. And a great way to do this can be by asking questions that encourage clients to set binary criteria. For example, does your desired person have a VP title? Yes or no? And the project team that you would define in Clockwork, your team members working on this search, will then be able to use this information as the basis for a scorecard on how candidates match up to the ideal candidate profile using a rating feature in Clockwork, which we'll talk about more in future webinars. Overall, defining the ideal candidate in your system of record as a source of truth is a key part of setting strategy for a search. And it's crucial for getting the team, including the client, on the same page for research and outreach. And remember, by making this information visible to clients throughout the project using the client visibility toggles, you'll maintain confidence with your client. You're working off the latest and greatest information. So all of these data points here can be made visible to the client through the platform. You would just need to determine whether you want to toggle that on or off for client visibility. Now that we have the position set, next is explaining to the client where we are going to look for these people. And for that, we'll head to the strategy view. And this strategy view allows you to set the parameters for your sourcing strategy and more specifically, where you will be looking for candidates. Internally, designing a sound search strategy at the beginning of your search project will help you deliver a higher quality search and achieve success quicker. It will give your team clear instructions on what sort of industries and companies you should start investigating. And externally, this helps cement the details of the working relationship with your client, including details around the frequency of status updates, getting the client to commit to being available for interviews, who participates in those calls, and what response is expected for feedback on profiles and interviews as well. So it really starts with this text field at the top, where we would document all of this in writing. And underneath is where we define exactly where our team should look for potential candidates in the form of target company lists. So identifying these target companies is a crucial first step that makes it easier to carry out the search, since the search strategy reduces confusion on all accounts, holds all those involved accountable for their respective duties, and shortens the amount of time it takes to find quality candidates. Retained search firms using Clockwork are being paid upfront for their services and need to proactively demonstrate value to their clients. They should never be on their heels being asked questions from their clients like, have you looked into company X or Y? Where are you at with researching company A? The client collaboration tools and ability to share this information with your client enables you to keep your client engaged and gather their critical input on the sourcing strategy. So the numbers you see here are really the total number of candidates that we have added to the search project that currently work at that target company or have worked at that target company in the past. And this helps build confidence from day one in simply just telling our clients where we'll be looking, how we're making progress, so that the client can make a decision with confidence. And speaking of candidates, you might assume that the first step in a search process is to immediately start engaging with candidates. You're excited to find a fit for your client. After all, why not just jump right in? There happens to be a critical step preceding research, however, and that step is benchmarking. So this process involves presenting your client with potential candidates, people you haven't reached out to yet, but who meet that criteria established in your initial meetings with the client. And by providing your client with benchmark profiles, they can give you feedback and help you readjust that search strategy before you go out and implement it to find real candidates. By incorporating benchmarking in your formal search process, it demonstrates your abilities as an executive search firm and enhances your credibility in the eyes of your client. So let's go to a view of what a client would see upon accessing Clockwork through the collaboration platform by highlighting the View as Client button. This tool is used by Clockwork users to see through their client's lens, check their visibility settings and what the client would see before inviting the client to collaborate. In other words, doing their final safety check before taking flight. So let's have some fun now and do a little role play on how the search strategy and benchmark profiles can be presented using Clockwork's client collaboration tools. To help me do that, I'm joined by our favorite client actor, Dane Stevens. I'm going to play a managing partner at a retained search firm. And the context between Dane and I is that we are in a kickoff meeting over a Zoom call. Dane's our client. I'm sharing my screen via Zoom to present the client view and talk through our search strategy. Many firms using Clockwork will send their client a link to access the project on their own time. What we're doing today is a more hands-on approach that some firms may favor to walk a new client through their search process and introduce Clockwork as their project management tool. So let's do it. Let's have some fun.
Alrighty, hey Jack.
Hey, Dane. Thanks for joining. I'm thrilled to kick off this general manager search with you. My goal for today's call is to share with you how our search project is set up for success and understand your viewpoint as a client stakeholder, unearth any feedback you may have to help adjust our search strategy, and get your buy-in to cementing our working relationship and how we'll work together. How does that sound?
Yeah, it sounds great.
Awesome. What you see here, Dane, is Clockwork, our project management tool, and our team uses this to run our search process end to end. We know that collaboration between our project team and you is critical to ensuring a successful project. This tool enables you to leave notes, make comments, and help adjust our search strategy to ensure we're on the same page. What you're looking at now is your ideal candidate profile and how our team will be screening candidates. We're going to target passive candidates, and our team is equipped with key selling points designed to support their efforts in piquing a candidate's interest. We have also added a research criteria to round out the ideal candidate profile in a more objective way. Speaking of which, I understand that you're looking for people with a VP level experience and up. Does your desired person have more than 5+ years of experience in a VP role?
Yes, in fact, our search committee was actually just saying 10+ years in a VP role or above.
Okay, got it. Great. We will edit the research criteria accordingly on our end in Clockwork. Ultimately, our team will present an initial screening of interested and qualified candidates to you through Clockwork using the long list and show how candidates match up to this research criteria.
That sounds great. And I know we discussed those target companies over our last call. Do you have that target company list to approach for candidate sourcing and which ones not to approach?
Yes, that information is available on the strategy tab. So let's head there and also further detail our search strategy and how we're going to work together. So what we have outlined here, Dane, are the details of how we'll work together throughout the search process. So each Thursday, we're going to have a status call and advance the search forward. Those calls will be attended by Jill, Tom, and Janet from your team. Ahead of those calls on Wednesdays, you will receive updates via Clockwork's collaboration platform on the most compelling candidates that we're going to discuss over that call.
Awesome. And how can we leave feedback on those candidates ahead of that call?
You'll be able to log in and leverage the long list and status report to easily thumb up or thumb down candidates and leave comments. You also mentioned target companies, Dane. Let's look at those target companies now here in the strategy tab. So as you can see, this page really serves as the roadmap for our research team, providing step-by-step instructions on how to carry out the search from start to finish. We're going to source COOs, general managers, and VPs at the life sciences companies listed here.
It's perfect. And Jack, I do have one comment. So I initially said that Henkel would be a good company to target, but we actually now have an off-limits agreement with them. Can you go ahead and modify that list, please?
Yes, absolutely. So we can actually flag all current employees of Henkel as off limits in our database and ensure that our team does not add any of their employees to this search. I'll actually notify my team now of that decision, and you can collaborate like this in Clockwork as well on your own time. Great. Dane, does everything else look good here?
Yeah, that looks spot on to me.
Great. Let's wrap up with some benchmark profiles that I would love to get your feedback on. So we'll head to the long list here. On top of confirming your search criteria, your feedback, Dane, acts as tangible data points that my team can reference during the search, during our research to best evaluate what an adequate profile looks like. So Dane, on your own time, you can review these profiles and provide feedback on each one, including what you liked or disliked. This will help us readjust the search strategy if needed and ensure that we're on the right track.
Great. And quickly, I'd actually love to look more closely at Victoria's profile. I love that she works at Pfizer.
Sure thing. So we can click Victoria's name to open up her panel here on the right-hand side of the screen. And Victoria has over 10 years of experience as a VP at Pfizer and has demonstrated life sciences acumen in planning and decision making. We have a great relationship with her, Dane.
Yeah, she looks good, but I know someone on my search committee is gonna want someone who actually had a research scientist background and was more responsible for conducting experiments and analysis to support development efforts.
Yeah, absolutely. Okay, that's great to know. We'll be sure to add that to our search strategy moving forward. And I can actually even make a note on her record now regarding that feedback.
That's perfect. And didn't you mention I can go through these on my own time and leave my own comments, thumb up people, thumb down people?
Yes, absolutely. You'll be able to do that in these columns here.
Alrighty, well, looks like I have everything I need at this point. Jack, really appreciate you sharing this all with me. I'm feeling confident this search project will be getting off on the right foot, and I'll definitely access the project ahead of our status calls with the team. So we're up to speed and, we feel informed going in and we can make those calls a little bit more productive.
Thanks, Dane. And when we meet next, it will be our first status call to review our research efforts and how our network is matching up to the discussed research criteria. I'll contact your EA to book next Thursday for that meeting.
Awesome. Thanks, Jack. I'm really enjoying this client experience so far.
Great. Thanks, Dane. We'll cut the role play there. Just summarizing where we're at in our journey here and where we're going. I'm bringing up our 8 stages of search visual, the search methodology on which Clockwork was built. This is concluding the 3rd stage of the search process. Now we're setting up ourselves for a successful research stage, which we will cover in our next webinar. And let's finish off with some key takeaways here. Setting a search strategy is very important to setting the project team up for success. This is also serving as a great opportunity to cement the working relationship with your client, demonstrate your process, what those client expectations are. This also keeps the team and client accountable and aligned, setting the tone for future meetings. And this also helps position you as a true search partner and trusted advisor. So that wraps up today. Thanks everyone for attending. Next, as we discussed, we'll talk more about how to execute on research, leveraging that strategy that we've set today. As always, for more information, please reach out to either Dane or myself. Our emails are listed here on the screen. Happy to learn more about your search process, how you guys are working today, talk through the 8-stage methodology and how that's benefiting firms using Clockwork as well. And we'll see you on the next webinar. Thank you so much.
Thanks, everyone.